We are taught to see extreme faith as a virtue, but there is a point where certainty becomes a blindfold, turning the very people who help us into the villains of our own narrative. Lencho is a farmer who spends every waking hour working like an ox in his fields. His hands are calloused, and his entire life is tied to the success or failure of his cornstalks. At this moment, his survival depends on a single event, a heavy downpour of rain. Without it, the harvest will fail, and his family will face the year with nothing. When the clouds finally break, Lencho begins counting the droplets as if they were physical currency. He calls the large drops 10-cent pieces and the small ones fives, a literal calculation of the financial reward he believes the sky is finally paying out. In his world, nature doesn't provide luck. It provides a direct, tangible payout for his labor. He views the rain as a divine transaction successfully completed. The celebration is short-lived. The wind shifts violently, and the gentle rain turns into a hailstorm that lasts for an hour, burying the valley in white. When the storm passes, the destruction is total. Not a single leaf remains on the trees. The corn is wiped out, leaving the fields looking as if they were covered in salt. The consequences are immediate. Lencho realizes that without this crop, his family has no way to buy food or seeds for the next season. They are facing starvation. Standing in the middle of his ruined field, Lencho clings to one certainty. He believes that God sees into every conscience, and that ultimately, no one is allowed to die of hunger. This loss erases his entire future. After years of laboring under the sky, Lencho moves past standard prayer and begins to treat the divine as a literal source of emergency funding. The following Sunday, Lencho decides to act on his conviction. He sits down to write a letter, addressing the envelope with 3 simple words: to God. He is precise about his needs. He requests exactly 100 pesos to re-sow his fields and support his family until the next harvest arrives. He walks to town, buys a stamp, and drops the letter into the mailbox. He isn't hoping for a miracle. He is expecting a reply. Lencho treats this letter like a business invoice. He expects the delivery of his 100 pesos with the same certainty a shopkeeper expects a shipment of supplies. Inside the post office, the letter is deciphered by a postman who has never seen such an address in his entire career. He takes it to his boss, laughing at the absurdity of it. The postmaster is a heavy, friendly man who initially joins in the laughter, but he stops abruptly, moved by the sheer weight of Lencho's vischwas. He finds himself wishing he possessed that same level of confidence. To ensure Lencho's faith remains intact, the postmaster decides to answer the letter himself. He realizes quickly that goodwill isn't enough. The letter asks for money. He gives up part of his own salary and collects small donations from his employees and friends, framing it as an act of charity. Despite their best efforts, the group only manages to raise 70 pesos. The postmaster puts the cash in an envelope and signs it with a single word: God. This creates a collision between 2 worlds: the postmaster's difficult, sacrificial human effort, and Lencho's rigid, absolute expectation. The next Sunday, Lencho arrives at the counter earlier than usual. He isn't checking to see if a letter arrived. He is there to collect it. The postman hands him the envelope, while the postmaster watches from his office, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a life-changing good deed. Lencho shows no surprise when he sees the money. In his mind, the cash is simply the fulfillment of a request he made to a reliable authority. But his mood shifts the moment he finishes counting. He becomes furious. He reasons that God is incapable of making a mistake, which means someone else must have interfered with the transaction. Because Lencho is so certain of his divine deal, he is unable to see the human generosity right in front of him. His faith has left no room for the possibility of a human gift. He immediately asks for paper and ink, goes to the public writing table, and drafts a second letter. He licks the stamp and slams it onto the envelope with his fist. The moment he leaves, the postmaster opens the mailbox to see the response. The letter asks God for the remaining 30 pesos, but with a warning: don't send it through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. This is situational irony, the moment where the result is the exact opposite of what everyone expects. Lencho's unwavering certainty acts as a filter. It causes him to misinterpret an act of profound human kindness as a malicious theft, branding his helpers as criminals. We usually admire people who refuse to doubt, but Lencho's story forces us to ask, when does faith become so rigid that it blinds us to the goodness of the real people trying to save us?